Farah, because his documentary aired last night, didn't it? He shared the revelation that he was illegally trafficked to the UK as a child and living under a false name. One particularly emotional part of the show was when he met his former PE teacher, Alan Watkinson, who spoke about the moment Mo confided in him. Oh, bless him. Jane, his story really did resonate with you, didn't it?
I thought I couldn't love Mo Farah anymore, and now I do. It's such a special story. He had such a tough time. But for me, it's so indicative of, you know, so he was trafficked here, he was living with a woman he didn't know, being basically used as a skivvy, confided in his teacher who referred it to social services, who knew the backstory, but protected him, kept him safe. He ended up living with another family for 7 years and having a very happy time. And, of course, he became Sir Mo Farah. He wrapped himself in the British flag at the Beijing Olympics, and he is a Brit through and through. And I think it's a really important lesson. And I'm not talking about the economic migrant situation, which is something else we do need to deal with, but in an intelligent and measured way. But Mo Farah came trafficked as a child, and we look now at illegally trafficked children. We go, send them back, send them back. And you look, and the small kindnesses that he found in society, his teacher, the social workers that protected him, the family that took him in, made him the person that he is today. And that is how it should be.
Well, yeah, it is, you know, sometimes people are under the assumption that kids are sent here in order to drain our resources in some way, shape or form. But actually, they're sent here because their parents want them to have a better life. And what they want to do is they want to be... That has to be done for a reason, because they want them to become something, to have a life that's better than the life that they have come from. And from that becomes things like Sir Mo Farah, where you work really hard for something and you feel like you belong to something. And I think it's easy for people to forget that when it comes to kids there and families that do decide to
And that's what
live
his
here.
parents did.
Yeah.
And he arrived with the number for an aunt and uncle that he thought he was going to stay with. And the lady he ended up with just ripped up his telephone number of his relatives in front of him. And he was stuck.
For that teacher, though, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because I think he's come out as a superstar, and it's highlighted the importance of a good teacher and the impact that they can have on, you know, on your life. Mine was my drama teacher, the late, great Terry Cudden, because I was a bit lazy, but I was a very average child. I always believed that you should kick them up the bum with one foot, but pat them on the back with the other, and I hadn't had much sort of that. So when he encouraged me to go into Finian's Rainbow, marvellous, and
Finian mind.
Basically, basically, it was like, it sounds really corny, but it was like a light went on, and he was my sort of guiding light, and he was the one who encouraged me to follow my dreams and do what I did. And without him, I would have had a completely different, you know, different life. He talked to my dad about me going to drama school, and similarly, when Matty was at school, it was a lady called Jilly who was his music teacher, and when she left, he said, "Mum, I feel the soul's gone out of school for me," because she was so important. And I do...
it's such an important job. And if you remember, Tom Hanks thanked his drama teacher in the Oscars.
Harry Styles recently
always talks about hers. And the best... Sir Patrick Stewart, his drama teacher, encouraged him, and he found out later in life that his drama teacher had paid for him to go to acting lessons.
Did he?
Yeah, and went back to... I mean, but I remember when we did your Loose Life stories, you got very emotional when we spoke to your ex-teacher.
Yeah, so it was my ex-drama school teacher, Angela, and I hadn't seen her... Gosh, I don't know how many years. Well, since I left at 18, I hadn't seen her. And my teacher at school, Mrs. Broadbridge, spotted something, which is why I ended up going to drama school anyway. And then Angela just, oh my goodness, she inspired me in so many different ways and made me feel like I had the confidence to do something that no one in my family, you know, would have ever considered before. And it's the idea that somebody, that one person in your life in an educational setting can change your life, or in most situation, save your life, you know, And then there's the argument of should they have that responsibility, but they are the person that is in between, you know, a child and social services. You know, and social services aren't there every day, but a teacher can spot when they know you well.
Yeah.
they can spot when you're upset and they can spot when something's not quite right.
Well, there's a new scheme here that I think it started in 2021, so last year. It's a trial. More than 150 educational institutions have actually got a social worker now embedded in the school for kids to go and talk to on a daily basis.
A few years ago, probably about 13 years ago now, because I was playing a teacher in Waterloo Road, where my character was head of pastoral care for about one episode, then sacked. But because I was playing a teacher, they did this documentary with the BBC called Playing the Part, where I had to go and be a teacher at my old school. And although I've always had a great deal of respect for teachers, by God, it was tenfold by the time I left, because they have no downtime. There are so many rules and protocols of you can't put your arm around this child and you can't do this and you can't do this. And basically, I was thrust into this world of teaching in one scene. There was a scene where I come running out of the classroom going, I'm an actress, not a teacher.
Did that actually go on TV?
It actually went on TV. It was cringe. But the point being is that the teachers would like to spend more time in a pastoral position, but because of all the bureaucracy and the red tape, you know, it's very, very hard for them to find that time.
But I think that's why the special ones really stand out, because if, you know, they do, you know, I think they kind of break through that. I did. You know what? It had me thinking. I've had a few along the ways. Like, I had my dance teacher that told my mum and dad that they should send me to a stage school, and my mum and dad were like, oh, could she sing then? You know, like, because I'd only ever just done my local dance school. And then I had my English teacher, Mr. Oliver, which was the only teacher at my secondary school that really, you know, was fine about me missing school, really helpful with helping me catch up and really encouraged me. And now I see that pattern with my kids. You know, my youngest, we've just found out he's got dyslexia, and that was all down to his teacher, Mrs. Bowen, that, you know, drew attention. She's so loving. And Parker, he had speech issues when he was at nursery, and we had a woman called Jackie who drew that to our attention. I think sometimes, you know, when you're at home with a child, you know, like you've all said, it wasn't someone at home, it was a teacher at school. You're in it, you can't necessarily... Children are so different when you're not with them.
And that's your norm.
So I think to have someone to draw those things to you, and I just think a teacher that loves what they do and is able to still do it with all that red tape and everything.
Similarly, a math teacher, I mean, you know, I had a maths teacher when I was young, and my fear of maths, I know, stems from that teacher who used to ridicule me, and, you know, it was just horrendous. So I think that they play,
Well, we've had some... loads of you got in touch about this, actually. Thanks very much for that. But Claire here said, I had a teacher who went above and beyond for me. I had undiagnosed dyslexia, but was told at the time that girls couldn't be dyslexic. But my English teacher regularly fought my corner to get me extra support while encouraging us to debate with each other and question the world around us. She also introduced me to my favourite play, Educating Rita, which ended up playing a big part in my life. Oh, yeah, so massive hero brand for the teachers.